Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are in the blessed holy month of Ramadan, and there is no better time than now to give to the needy in Iraq. Imam Hussein Charity is giving you the chance to provide food baskets for destitute and impoverished families all over Iraq and Afghanistan. Each basket contains enough food to feed a family of 4. We're one of the areas where we distribute food baskets. I'm going to go drop off this food basket to one of the Hajia who's registered with Imam Hussein Charity. Assalamu alaikum Hajia. These orphans need your help and require your assistance. Don't let any of these orphans go hungry this Ramadan. Please donate.
Your donation can provide a source of nourishment for those who do not have access to food.
In the name of God, the most beneficent, the most merciful, all praise is due to the Lord, Master of all the worlds, and peace and blessings be on all his prophets, and especially the final prophet, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. My respected brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Many times discussions revolving around the 12 Imams are the subject of differences, of course, between the schools of the religion of Islam. The Shia are known for their belief in the 12 successors to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih, with the different terminologies used alongside the word Imam, the word Khalifa, the word Amir, the word Naqib. All of these can be seen in one way or the other associated with the number 12. And you find, therefore, that this number is prevalent within early Islamic literature. That there are companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih who all across the board narrate a hadith concerning the number 12. Remember, at the end of the day, what we seek to do within this series of episodes is for us to understand some of the core Shia beliefs, and that these beliefs did not come out of thin air. On the first level, of course, we are arguably the oldest school in the history of the religion of Islam. When it comes to our sect, whether you agree with our sect or you don't, you'll see that very early on in the religion of Islam, whether you want to associate us with the time of Saqifa or the time of Uthman or the time of Karbala, you will always find that our school is one of the earliest, and therefore our theology is one of the earliest. Our legal system is one of the earliest. But alongside a number of other readings that existed in that period. So in that period when we were talking about different theological issues, you had in Medina and other places people who were also giving their readings on the traditions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih. One thing, of course, that did not help us was Umar ibn al-Khattab's banning of the writing and the publishing of hadith within the formative period of the religion of Islam. We all know, whether you're Sunni or Shia, that Umar ibn al-Khattab placed a ban that would result in us really seeing the majority of works that are published maybe 100 years or so after the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih. That means sometimes when Muslims are talking about their beliefs or are talking about their understanding of leadership, imamah, governance, khilafah, hukuma, all of these different terminologies, we cannot say that as soon as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih died, that Abu Bakr allowed for the publication of a book on the rules of governance. Or that in Umar's time, there was a book that was published for everybody to see, for example, what are the conditions of Khilafah and the role of the Khalifa. Umar ibn al-Khattab institutes a ban on writing. Of course, there are different reasons for why he institutes this ban, and that we can go into in other lectures, because the scholars have all offered different readings, and there is somewhat of difference of opinion as to why he does this, but he institutes the ban. Ask any Sunni in the world today, what is the earliest book of hadith that you as a Sunni have ever read? Was it from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? I'll say to you, no. Maybe the earliest books of hadith may have been, for example, towards the end of the 1st century or the beginning of the 2nd century, where you still are in the Umayyad period, and you still see that somewhat of an emergence may be there, according to some, from the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Even these books that you see around me, Bukhari and Muslim, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Abu Dawood. This Abu Dawood, for example, right in front of me over here. All of you have been looking at the Sunan of Abu Dawood, my dear brothers and sisters. This book was written by a man who lived 200 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Muslim, Bukhari, Abu Dawood, and Nasa'i, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah were people who lived a couple of hundred years after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa died. Normally, when you hear the name Sahih al-Bukhari, some people may even think on the most basic level that this must be a book from the time of just after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa died. No. Rather, these books, even when we come to see over here behind me the books that you see, whether it's the Sunan of Ibn Majah, whether it is Tafsir of Ibn Kathir, all of these are works which are written a few hundred years after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa has died. Why do I say this? I say this because of the fact that sometimes people say to us, Shia, when we want to see your interpretation of a concept, you must show me it from the very time that your earliest of Imams lived, or during the lifetime of your Imams. I ask on the first level, that is like me saying, this hadith that the caliphate will last 30 years, was it written 31 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa died? Is there a book 31 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa died? Or during when this caliphate had taken place? Was there a book there and then that had written very clearly about this issue of the caliphate? No, I see it here in front of me, this issue. I look, for example, here in the Sunan of Abu Dawood, compiled by Imam Hafiz Abu Dawood Sulaiman ibn Ash'ath, volume 5, hadith number 4351 to 5274. A hadith edited and referenced by Hafiz Abu Tahir Zubair al-Izai, translated by Nasiruddin al-Khattab. Final review by Abu Khalil. Which edition? First edition, July 2008, supervised by Abdul Malik Mujahid. Darus Salam publishers. If you come with me here, my dear brothers and sisters, you'll see very clearly this tradition. And this tradition is one that is narrated by many. At the bottom of what? At the bottom of Kitab al-Sunnah, page 181, hadith number 4646. And it's narrated from Abdul Warith bin Sa'id. From who? From Sa'id bin Jumhan. From over here, Safina, who said, the Messenger of Allah said. Messenger of Allah said is being written in a book of a man who died 270 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa died. the Messenger of Allah said the Khilafah of prophethood will last for 30 years. Then Allah will give power or His kingdom to whomever He wills. Okay? Sa'id said, Safina said to me, calculate Abu Bakr's Khilafah 2 years, Umar's 10, Uthman's 12, Ali's is such and such. Sa'id said, I said to Safina, they are saying that Ali was not a Khalifa. He said, the buttocks of Bani Zarqa are lying, meaning who? Meaning Bani Marwan. Now what's interesting about this hadith? First and foremost, what's interesting is that we're able to talk about the concept of leadership and the validity of such leadership. 250 years the book is published after this leadership. When someone comes and says that I want you Shia to show me all of the proofs and your readings for the 12 Imams, I first and foremost say, on which criteria are we going to use? They want to put forth the criteria that this has to be during their lifetime. This hadith about Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and possibly Imam Ali as Khalifa, which also further adds to the idea that sometimes to be a Khalifa, there would need to be a consensus of the Ummah. And clearly on Imam Ali, there wasn't a consensus when he became the fourth Khalifa. Hence this whole idea that everyone will accept his governance. Not everyone did. But anyway, what I see straight away is that when we're looking at this issue, what is the cutoff period for when you accept a particular concept or a particular reading for something to be valid? I now have got in front of me here a book like Kitab al-Irshad, for example. Here, Kitab al-Irshad is right in front of me of Sheikh al-Mufid. If I use Kitab al-Irshad to prove that, look at this book, all of you know it very well, Kitab al-Irshad, the book of guidance into the lives of the 12 Imams, written by Sheikh al-Mufid, not more than, we would say, 100 years after this book, 60 years, 70 years. If I prove my reading of the Imams from this one, it's unacceptable. But if you prove Khilafah from this one, it's acceptable. If I say this one has a chain that takes me back to the lives of the Imams, they say no. If you say this one has a chain that takes you back to the lives of the companions and the tabi'een and the tabi'een, they'll say yes. What I mean by this, therefore, is, methodologically speaking here, what I'm interested in is not a 30-week course on proving imamah or a 30-week course on proving isma. That requires its own course to discuss all the different polemics of the classic period and the contemporary discussions. And that's not the remit of this show. The remit of this show is to highlight that when the Shia believe that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi made clear the leaders after him, I have a reading of the 12 and you may have a reading of the 12. Ibn Hajar may have a reading of the 12. Suyuti may have a reading of the 12. Ibn al-Arabi may have a reading of the 12. Qadi Ayad may have a reading of the 12. In the Sunni world, the hadith of the 12 is extremely famous. But tonight, what I want to show as well is that we could all have different readings of who those 12 are after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih. Ultimately, even in Sunni sect, you will find they disagree on whether the names are all the same, whether the number should be limited to 12, whether the 12 are directly after Rasulullah, and then they tell us, you Shia have to prove, wait. At the end of the day, you yourself haven't got consistency in the reading. But at the same time, I must stress, that I understand the Sunni position as well, in the sense that the Sunni position looks at the Shia jumping in and saying that these are my 12. And they want to know that how does the Shia reach that conclusion? Now, I'll try and present tonight how I reach the conclusion on the 12 and how the concept of the 12 does not come out of thin air. It is there within the literature. Whether you agree with my reading or you don't agree with my reading doesn't mean you result in calling me a kafir or a fasiq or a worshipper or of the imams or a pagan and so on and so forth. Poor Sheikh Asim al-Hakim, this man, all he has the chance to go on a tirade. Sometimes his tirades produce hate, filth, nonsense. Let's play this clip of Sheikh Asim al-Hakim when someone quite innocently asks him about the idea and the belief of the Shia in 12 successors to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Please play the clip.
I have a Shia classmate and he said that it's mandatory to know and follow the 12 Imams. And he also claimed that it's mentioned in the Quran that the Ahl al-Bayt is perfect. And that we Sunnis also have a hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said follow the Ahl al-Bayt. Wa jazakallahu khair.
Wa jazakum. So what's your question?
Could you please clarify this
There's nothing,
question?
Akhi, there's nothing to clarify. The Shia are a negligible cult, a sect, one of the 72 sects of Islam which the Prophet told us, alayhi salatu wassalam. And there is no doubt that they are one of the 72 sects that are in hell. Only one sect will be in heaven, in paradise. And those who are following the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. Now, you tell me, are the Shia following the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ? Even the Shia themselves, they will tell you, nope, we don't. We follow the 12 Imams. We follow Abu Abdullah, Al-Hussein, and the other Imams.
Are the Shia following? Are the Shia following who? The Prophet, he says the Shia themselves will tell you that what? The Shia themselves will tell you that they are not following the Prophet, they are following the 12 Imams. Therefore, when you say such a thing, this is nonsense, Sheikh Asim. That we, the Shia, don't follow the Prophet, rather we are following the 12 Imams. No, on the contrary. We believe, as Shia, that our understanding and our reading of the belief in the 12 Imams was what? Was something that could be explained in our literature and in yours. In your literature, when I look earlier in my episodes, I had made something clear. And that is when I opened Sahih Muslim, as you all saw, here we have in front of us the English translation of Sahih Muslim, compiled by Imam Abu al-Hussein Muslim Ibn al-Hajjaj, volume 6, hadith number 5646 to 6722. A hadith edited and referenced by Hafiz Abu Tahir Zubair al-Izai, translated by Nasiruddin Khatib, final review by Abu Khalil. I had shown in the previous episodes that I believe that on the day of Ghadir, here on page 267, we had made clear that the Prophet ﷺ had stopped here at Khum, at Ghadir Khum. And that he made clear to the people, in our Shia reading, and it's in your literature, made clear to the people a number of concepts. One of them is what he leaves behind for the people. I could just stop there. Instead of us debating who the 12 are, the Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, in one version of Hadith Thaqalain. Of course, I'm not obliged to hold the Sunni version in any way whatsoever. Since when is the Sunni version a barometer for me? Sunni says to me, show it from my book. Since when were your books the barometer of the religion of Islam? I only try to show here from your literature to highlight to my own Shia that don't let anyone tell you your ideas come from random places. No, our ideas have a particular place in Islamic history. And it's disrespect to say that we are not of the oldest sects in the religion of Islam, whether you hate us or you don't. I leave behind for you two, not one. Two weighty things. They're both weighty. Both of them are weighty. Whatever the Prophet is leaving behind, both are weighty. He didn't say, I'm leaving behind for you two things. One is weighty, the other isn't. No, two weighty things. What are they? The first of which is the book of Allah, in which is guidance and light. Follow the book of Allah and hold fast to it. And he encouraged us to adhere to the book of Allah. Then he said, and the people of my household. I'm going to stop there. For me, when I am Shia, Ithna Ashari, the first basis of my worldview is a hadith that is so well known. And that is the keys to salvation. Holding on to the Quran and holding on to who? To the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. This was a statement made by the Prophet when he said, I leave behind for you two weighty things, not one. One may be weightier than the other, but they're both weighty. And the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, had made clear, hold on to two weighty things. You as a Muslim from that day onwards, it's been made clear for you that you hold on to the two weighty things, the Quran and my Ahlul Bayt, and that the Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, had made clear that the wives, although they are people of the house, no doubt, not technically in what I'm leaving behind. Because as the hadith continues, it says, aren't his wives amongst the people of his house? He said his wives are amongst the people of his house, but the people of his household are those to whom zakat is forbidden after he has gone. One reading of this, and I respect the readings, one reading is that this is all about making sure that Ahlul Bayt aren't left poor and that zakat looks after them. That's your reading, no problem. You can't force it on us. No chance. Rather, our reading on this is that the wives are people of the house, but that pure line of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are the ones who cannot take sadaqah. That we all know. And that when Ahlul Bayt are discussed about how many pages later, the same Sahih Muslim, my dear brothers and sisters, if we just go to a few pages later, and I've shown this already, but I'll come back to it again, chapter 9, the virtues of the household of the Prophet, already I have from this household of the 12 that I believe in, already I have 3 who are mentioned. Who are they? The Prophet ﷺ went out one morning wearing a striped cloak of black camel hair, Hadith al-Kisa. Al-Hasan bin Ali, 1-2, came, and he enfolded him in the cloak. Then Al-Hussein, alayhi salam. Now I have 3 of those who I believe Allah has done what? Allah has named them the Ahlul Bayt, who Allah wishes to keep away all impurities from you, O members of the family. This wasn't this verse in this Kisa where the Prophet places everyone under. What I have now is the Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, shortly before he dies, very shortly, within a couple months before he dies, has stopped all the Muslims and made clear to them that they hold on to the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt as 2 weighty things. These 2 weighty things you must hold on to, you must look after, you must protect in all ways, for they are guidance and light. And I don't think any Muslim will deny that Ahlul Bayt are guidance and light. But of course, the Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, in that same area, when I'm trying to understand the successors of the Prophet, I'm also given a hint at the bottom of the hadith on page 268 of Sahih Muslim that there are certain families who are revered as the people you hold on to. Family of Ali, family of Aqil, family of Ja'far, family of Abbas. Again, I am not obliged to hold on to anything that's mentioned here, except that in understanding who the list are of the Ahlul Bayt, the family of Ali are clearly mentioned as amongst those you hold on to. So now, as a Shi'i, Ithna Ashari, I'm a Shia 12er. On the first level, I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi telling me, Inni tarikun fikum al-thaqalain. On the second level, he's told me that these are the holy household, of whom Ali, Hassan, and Hussein are clear as day for every Muslim to associate them with the incident of the Kisa. On the third level, he's mentioned the families of Ali, Ja'far, Aqil, and Abbas, those who want to do ijtihad and follow the line of Abbas, more than welcome. But that's their ijtihad, and they'll say on the day of judgment that I followed the line of Abbas, for Rasulullah told me, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, who when asked, who are your Ahlul Bayt? He mentioned the line of Abbas. So if you want, follow the line of Abbas, no problem. Those of you who want to follow the line of Ja'far, no problem. Those who want to follow the line of Aqil, and how many of them got exterminated at Karbala, but no problem. The line of Ja'far, the line of Aqil, I hold on to the Thaqalain through the sons of who? Through the family of Ali. Ali. That's how I hold on to who? To the Thaqalain. Someone said, Ammar, couldn't the Prophet have just made it like blatantly clear to everybody and, we wouldn't have these issues? I think he tried. I personally believe he told everybody. But I also think he tried to write it for everybody. The interesting thing is, I'm not the only one who thinks that. Come over here with me. Over here, my dear brothers and sisters, you could see Fathul Bari, the sharh of what? Sahih al-Bukhari, from Al-Imam Al-Hafiz Al-Asqalani. Al-Mujallad Al-Tasi', all of you can see over here. This one, Dar al-Kutub al-Ilmiya, which is published where? Beirut, Lebanon. My dear brothers and sisters, he discusses which incident? Discusses the incident of the pen and paper and Umar denying the pen and paper. One of the questions people always ask is, what did Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi want to write? We said that Umar, as I had mentioned in the episode a few days ago, I can refer you to the episode, and please try and watch the whole episodes rather than bits and pieces. Umar said that pain has overcome him. Maybe not in his senses, maybe delirious. The Quran is sufficient for us. That was Umar's conclusion. Umar's ijtihad according to the hadith of Sheikh Asim al-Hakim. Asqalani. He, in this Fath al-Bari, Al-Asqalani says something very interesting. Which page? In Kitab al-Maghazi, page 113, when he's talking about kitaban in the hadith, the Prophet says that I want to write for you something. Look what he's written next to it. It is said that it is the choosing of the Khalifa after him. قيل هو تعيين الخليفة بعد. Read it properly, zoom in, my dear brothers and sisters. تعيين الخليفة. Look over here. It's all the discussion concerning the pen and paper. As for what he wants to write, ta'yin, it is said it is the choosing of the Khalifa or the appointment of the Khalifa after him. He wants to write it down. This is in the sharh of what's in Sahih al-Bukhari from Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. In other words, when someone says, why didn't Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam make it all clear, the caliphs after him, Umar ibn al-Khattab made sure that he didn't make it clear. You know what surprises me about Umar ibn al-Khattab is he thinks the Prophet's not in his senses, but when the Prophet tells him to get out, he suddenly believes he's in his senses. That one's a bit of a contradiction. Now, that one said that the Prophet wants to write the name of the Khalifa after him. Here I have in front of me Irshad al-Sari, Sharh Sahih al-Bukhari, and this is the author, who is it? Al-Imam al-Qastalani. The previous one was Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Here we have Imam Shahab al-Din al-Qastalani, who died 923, as you could all see. Mujallad al-Awwal, Dar al-Kutub al-Almiya, Beirut, Lebanon. He has his discussion on this particular section. If you look what he says on this area of I will write for you, أكتب لكم كتابا, he says فيه النص على الأئمة بعدي. The writing was to be about the designation of the Imams after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Zoom in here. لما اشتد, as you can all see here, بالنبي الوجع أكتب لكم كتابا فيه النص about who? على الأئمة. Therefore, the idea of what it was that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, both Asqalani and Qastalani, both of them make clear that it's to write the Khalifa or the name of the Imams, A'imma, after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So when then someone comes to me and says, why is it that the Prophet didn't make all this clear? I say to them, Umar ibn al-Khattab is the one you need to ask. Had Umar ibn al-Khattab not got in the way, then we would have gone towards the direction where the Prophet clearly has written even whatever he has already made clear to who? To the community. Because this text, all of you, make sure you note down the reference, please, everyone there. Note down the reference of this particular text. You see that on this text over here, clearly what's mentioned? It's mentioned that this Fath al-Bari, both of them have come towards this direction, and that is that the Prophet wants to write. So what do we have now? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, I leave behind for you the Quran. He mentions the Ahlul Bayt. He mentions Al-Ali. He mentions Hassan and Hussein alayhim as-salam. And that it's not ironic then that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi talks about from the successors. What does he make clear? That there will be 12 after me. Someone says, where? Let's come over here, my dear brothers. This is Sahih al-Bukhari. All of you can see Sahih al-Bukhari, the translation and the meanings of Sahih al-Bukhari, Arabic English, volume 9, Hadith 6561 to 7563, translated by Dr. Muhammad Muhsin Khan. Volume 9, Dar es-Salam Publishers, printed July 1997, printing supervised by Abdul Malik Mujahid. Maktab Dar es-Salam 1997, King Fahd National Library, cataloging and publication data. All of you can see clear here, my dear brothers and sisters, this hadith which comes when someone says, you Shia believe in 12. Let's see if it's mentioned within Sahih al-Bukhari. This chapter, Kitab al-Ahkam, the book of al-Ahkam, judgments, all of you could see over here. The book of al-Ahkam, judgments, page 207. Come down to Hadith 722, 7223. narrated Jabir bin Samura, I heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, there will be 12 Muslim rulers, in brackets, who will rule all the Islamic world. He then said a sentence which I did not hear. Very convenient timing. Anyway, my father said that the Prophet said, all of them, those rulers, will be from Quraysh. Here we see that when we call ourselves Ithna Ashari, it does not come out from some random place that I'm a 12er Shia. The idea of 12 rulers coming after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih is written there within Sahih al-Bukhari. It is then the question as to the reading of who these 12 are from school to school, from opinion to opinion. If we look over here, it says, there will be 12 Muslim rulers who will rule all the Islamic world. So here it says the criteria possibly is that the ruler has to rule all the Islamic world. I'm not sure many Muslim rulers in the last 1400 years who ruled the whole Islamic world. But over here, this is part of the criteria that will be given, and all of them, those rulers will be from Quraysh. Okay? All of them will be from Quraysh. Of course, someone here might turn around and say, Quraysh is too broad. Could be absolutely anyone. The Prophet should have narrowed it down. I say on the first level, whoever he narrows it down to, sometimes when we saw the discussion on Ghadir, even when he says, Allahumma wali man wala, it goes in one ear, out of the other. As if a person has antagonism towards someone, it's not going to affect him. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that Ali is my wali. Allahumma wali man wala wa adi man ada. Even the closest companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, having heard this, still fought Ali ibn Abi Talib. Number two, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, when he talks about Quraysh, he then narrows it down to Bani Hashim from Quraysh. You'll see that within Sunni and Shia literature, he narrows it down from the Quraysh when he talks about himself and the different tribes who Allah chose, until it comes and from Bani Hashim came Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So what do I have here? I have there will be 12 Muslim rulers with the brackets included, as they will always include. Now, when we move on, let's see another hadith where this is mentioned, my dear brothers and sisters. If I go to the Sunan of Abu Dawood, all of you can see clearly here, the Sunan of Abu Dawood, compiled by Imam Hafiz Abu Dawood Sulaiman ibn Ash'ath, volume 4, from hadith number 3242 to 4350, a hadith edited and referenced by Hafiz Abu Tahir Zubair Ali Zaid, translated by Nasiruddin Khattab, final review by Abu Khalil. Where is it published? Over here, my dear brothers and sisters. First edition, July 2008, supervised by Abdul Malik Mujahid. Let us all go to page 506. You'll see something quite wonderful. Actually, I actually really like this, my dear brothers and sisters. Wallah, I'll never forget the moment when I saw this. And as a Shi'i with my reading, obviously I'll be super excited when I see this. What am I super excited about? The chapter, page 506 over here, I want everyone at home to look. What is it? Kitab al-Mahdi, the book of the Mahdi. Allah. Allah, the book of the Mahdi. Someone says, so what, you got super excited about that? No, come on, give me a break. I'm not just going to get super excited about seeing the name of my Imam there. I get super excited that in the book of the Mahdi, 35, the book of the Mahdi, Awal, Kitab al-Mahdi, what I get super excited about is that straight away, it talks about what? Straight away, it talks about the number 12 in the chapter of the Mahdi. You got to admit, that's quite exciting. I, as a Shi'i, who believe the Mahdi is my 12th Imam, in the Sunan of Abu Dawood, on the book of the Mahdi, the first hadith is about 12 Imams. And on top of that, it's called the book of the Mahdi. Come on. You got to say that that's not too bad. Even my detractors, even those who try and reply back to me and respond. And of course, we all have our different readings, and everyone's welcome to provide their reading. Just don't call me a Shi'i Rafidi mushrik dog. Now, you see, everyone's allowed to have their reading, but it's a beautiful one. Just look at that. You know what? This is such a lovely moment. The book of the Mahdi, right underneath it, it's narrated from who, my dear brothers and sisters? From Ismail, of course, that is Ibn Abi Khalid, from his father, from Jabir bin Samura, who said, I heard the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say, this religion will continue to endure until there have been 12 what? Look here, Ithna Ashara Khalifa. 12 khulafa, 12 successors ruling over you, all of whom are agreed upon by the ummah. This is interesting. All of whom are agreed upon by the ummah. All of whom are agreed upon by the ummah. I have to come back to this one actually. There'll be 12 after, all of whom are agreed upon by the ummah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Then I heard the Prophet say something that I did not understand, and I said to my father, what is he saying? He said, all of them will be from Quraysh. This is such a lovely sight. I wish someone could draw a portrait of this. In a Sunni text, the book of the Mahdi and the number 12. That's a wonderful moment. Let's go to the next hadith. Look at the next hadith, 4280, because this previous one, Abu Dawood, is, the conclusion here has come that it's da'if. But let's go to this one. It was narrated from who? It's narrated, my dear sisters, from Dawood and Ammar, from Jabir bin Samura, who said, I heard the Messenger of Allah say, this religion will remain strong until there have been 12 what? Until there have been 12 khulafa. The people said the takbir and made noise. Clearly they were excited when they heard that number. Then he said something in a low voice, and I said to my father, what did he say? He said, all of them will be from Quraysh. This is seen as sahih. This is very interesting. The religion will remain strong until there have been 12 khulafa. You read the Arabic here. لا يزال هذا الدين عزيزا. Okay, until what? Ithna Ashara Khalifa will come along. And then of course, فَكَبَّرَ النَّاسُ, so the people are super excited. Next hadith, 4281. It was narrated from, who narrated from? Over here, Al-Aswad ibn Sa'id Al-Hamadani, from Jabir bin Samura with this hadith. He added, when he went back to his house, the Quraysh came to him and said, then what will happen? And then he talks about that there'll be Hajj killing later on. Okay? So now what's very interesting, my dear brothers and sisters, is that we have in the book of the Mahdi, quite ironically, with my belief that the Mahdi is the 12, in the book of the Mahdi, it talks about 12. Which is super cool. Can you tell how excited I am about that? So the book of the Mahdi, in the Sunan of who? In the Sunan of Abi Dawood, we've got that section on page 506 that discusses that there's 12. So the Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, one thing that's interesting is that this is not some solitary narration. I haven't bought, for example, I haven't even discussed, Tayalisi, I have not discussed Tabarani, I have not discussed Abdullah bin Mas'ud's narration on this issue. I'm sticking here Jabir bin Samura generally, but I could have easily bought the others of the companions of Rasulullah, which are there, whether the Musnad of Ahmad, Tabarani, Tayalisi, all these others, which discuss clearly. Let me go again to another part where the 12 are discussed. Come with me here, Sahih Muslim, my dear brothers and sisters, volume number 5, compiled by Abu al-Hussein Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj, volume 5, from hadith number 4519 to 5645. A hadith edited and referenced by Hafiz Abu Tahir Zubair Ali Zai, translated by Nasiruddin Khattab, Canada, final review by Abu Khalil. And then I come over here, Sahih Muslim volume 5, edited by Huda al-Khattab, final review by Abu Khalil. First edition, August 2007, supervised by Abdul Malik Mujahid. I want us to come to page 145 over here. My dear brothers and sisters, again, we come to this whole idea of the 12. If you look, my dear brothers and sisters, It was narrated that Jabir ibn Samurah said, I entered upon the Prophet ﷺ with my father, and I heard him say, this matter will not end until there have been amongst them 12 Khalifas. This matter will not end until 12 have completed their tasks. This matter will not end until there will be what? Amongst them 12. Then he said something that I could not hear, and I said to my father, what did he say? He said, all of them will be from Quraysh. 4706, it was narrated that Jabir ibn Samurah said, I heard the Prophet say, the people's affairs will go well so long as they are governed by 12 men. Wallah, that's true. Wallah, it's true. Ya Rasulullah, you're so right. That's mad. Let's go back to it again. Look, how blatant. It was narrated that Jabir bin Samurah said, I heard the Prophet say, the people's affairs will go well so long as they are governed by 12 men. That's all you needed to know. As long as you guys, you see, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my dear brothers and sisters, try and understand something, my dear brothers and sisters, and that is that he had said it many times. Umar stopped him from writing. Umar not just stopped him, he made a ban on writing. And then from that ban on writing, people come and say to me, show me during the... Your Khalifa banned the chance for us to even produce. Luckily for us Shia, one thing that was always fortunate is that we had wonderfully 11 walking books of hadith. True? You ever ask the question, what is it that made Bukhari compile his Sahih or Muslim compile his Sahih? What is it that made Umar bin Abdul Aziz maybe allow people to start writing again? The Sunni world was full of fabrications left, right and center, and their hadith world. It became a joke, the amount of tadlis. Ask Bukhari from the Sahih that he's compiled, how many of them did he not put in? It was called the hadith industry. Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan was a king of that industry. There were so many hadiths of Imam Ali alayhi salam where sometimes you see the hadith, I can't remember who said that, and that was Imam Ali. Fulan, and that was Imam Ali. And sometimes there are those who were enemies of Imam Ali alayhi salam whose names they omitted. So when someone wants to put me to task in that period, forget that my imams were killed or imprisoned or tortured or their companions were killed. You expected what? My imams to be sitting flourishing? When you butchered one of them in Karbala and you took the other one as captive towards Sham, and then you imprisoned some and others that you poisoned. You think that our imams were living scot-free under your Umayyad and Abbasid Khulafa? When someone comes and tells me that all these 12 hadiths are hadiths that have come randomly in the Umayyad, what's the cutoff line for something to be established as truth? Because Umar certainly put a ban on me ever knowing much about the literature. And forget the later ones who burnt the libraries and the books of Ahlul Bayt, that there are books attributed to companions of the Imams or to the Imams themselves that we don't have with us today. In the same way, you're able to use a book like Sahih Muslim, written a couple of 100 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has died, to talk about Rasulullah. What's the cutoff point for me when you'll allow me to be halal? And who are you to set the rules and the barometers? Now there's an interesting point that emerges also over here. And that is, that sometimes people say, well, if you Shia, your 12 are so well known, then I want you to show it to me clearly from within your literature. And I mentioned already a number of places, whether I mentioned the Irshad of Shaykh al-Mufid, whether I mentioned Al-Kafi of Shaykh al-Kulayni. No. I want it from that particular source during that time, only then I will accept. I remember there was a Muslim debating a Christian once. Muslim was debating a Christian. And the Muslim said to him that you've got to come towards Islam, Christianity is the wrong path. The Christian said to him, prove to me Muhammad's name in the Bible. Muslim said, no, it's different. It's in the Quran. He goes, I believe the Quran is the work of Satan. Prove it to me in the Bible. Just because that Muslim cannot show it in the book of the Christian, does that mean that Rasulullah is not a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When today people say, you Shia must show during the lives of your Imams. If a Christian turns around to me now and says to me that Muhammad's name you claim in your Quran is in the Bible, your Quran is the book of Satan to me, it is a fabrication, show me in mine right now, otherwise I won't become Muslim. Even if I don't show the Christian the name of Rasulullah in the Bible, does that mean Rasulullah is not the Prophet of Allah? I don't have my own criteria, or am I subject to their criteria? Someone also posited an argument where they said that the Shia were also split into sects like the Waqifites and Waqifiyya. They literally done waqf. They stopped at Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. You have the Ismailiyya who stopped also at Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam and then moved on to the son of Imam al-Sadiq Ismail onwards. Correct? Say that if it was so clear, if it's so clear, then why is it that even you Shia, if you knew your 12 Imams and the names of your Imams, why did Waqifites and Ismailis emerge? I bring them here to this book. Shaykh al-Tusi's Kitab al-Ghayba, my dear brothers and sisters. The book of the occultation, translation Kitab al-Ghayba, by Abu Ja'far, Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Tusi, of course, Shaykh al-Ta'ifa. You see over here, translation of Kitab al-Ghayba, translator Sayyid Athar Hussein Rizvi. Where is this published? Ansariyan Publications, Qom, Iran, first edition 2012. Nagim Press, all rights reserved. Ansariyan Publications, Shuhada Street, Qom. Come with me here to page 94. Shaykh al-Tusi, of course, replies to a number of these people who say that you Shia, your 12 are not clear. Why? Because otherwise, why would there be a group called the Waqifa? So what the Waqifa Shia did, they get to Imam al-Kadhim, they see there's a lot of khums available. The representative of Imam al-Kadhim, his reps, they see the khums is available. They're thinking, you know what? Why don't we make up a story that Imam Musa al-Kadhim's gone into Ghayba and we'll steal the khums and take it for ourselves. Okay? Imam al-Rida alayhi salam was, of course, alive at that time. But these people made up the story that Imam went into Ghayba. Someone says, you see, because there's a group that stopped at the 7th Imam, automatically that means that your school is to be rejected. I come here to this page 94. In this hadith number 44, there's something very interesting. That even the Waqifa continued to believe in 12 Imams, but they went towards the direction of a story of the Ghayba of Imam al-Kadhim, but they didn't deny the belief in the 12 Imams. Come here. Narrated to me Muhammad bin Ata and Khalad al-Lu'lu'i, that narrated to me Sa'id al-Makki was a close confidant of Imam al-Sadiq, that Imam said, "Oh Sa'id, the Imams are 12. When 6 of them pass away, Allah the Almighty and the High would give ease to the 7th of them, and 5 persons from us, the Ahlul Bayt, will be Imams, and through the 6th of them, the sun would rise from the west." Tusi's explanation, this report clarifies that Imams are 12 in number, and that which is mentioned after that is the explanation which the narrator has mentioned according to the Ismailiyya creed. Now, very interesting over here. The hadith that comes from Imam al-Sadiq, "O Sa'id, the Imams are 12. When 6 of them pass away, Allah the Mighty and High would give ease to the 7th of them." Question: give ease to the 7th of them is a very interesting comment over here. Because Fatah Allah ala Sa'ah, if we say that Allah has given ease to the 7th, does that mean given ease means the 7th has gone into some Ghayba? After Imam al-Sadiq, did Imam al-Kadhim go Ghayba, Ismail go Ghayba? We reply by saying that it's true that Imam al-Kadhim was actually given a lot of ease in his time. In which sense? Part of his life was imprisonment and oppression. Part of it was the Shia were very wealthy to the extent that the khums that was collected was so great, these guys ended up scamming and forming their own sect. Imam al-Qadhi alayhi salam had 30 shirts. People would say, you are an imam and you own 30 shirts, because the people in his time were wealthy and the Shia became prosperous. Harun al-Rashid virtually rules this way and that way. And there are all of this unbelievable amount of wealth. Just because it says the seventh of them will be given ease doesn't mean he goes into ghaibah. Means that in that period there was an ease where there was wealth coming from everywhere. Otherwise these khums collectors wouldn't scam. Number two, when someone says, but these waqifites, the fact that they form that, I'm not going to trust the scammer in terms of a particular ideology, because that scammer has already sold his soul. Why should I trust that person at all? Of course, later on in the discussion when we come to the Mahdi, people say, yeah, but the wakils of the 11th Imam also scammed. They took the khums and they wanted to make a story about the 12th being in ghaibah. No, they should have even just done that for the 11th. There's no need to make a story about the 12th. You just say the 11th went into ghaibah. Therefore, what am I saying? I'm saying that even those who came and said that you don't have any discussions on the 12 Imams, firstly, we show that our books have isnads that go back towards the Imams, and the Imams talking about Imam after Imam, whether it is the ahadith that you may find which only mention a number or some which mention names. If you look in the Basair or the Mahasin, or you look in Al-Kafi and so on and so forth, you may sometimes see just a number. Sometimes you'll see names being clearly mentioned. But as we said, this is not a 30-week course on Imamah. Rather, it allows us to see the understanding of the list of the Imams. Something I compiled for all of you at home is a list over here, my dear brothers and sisters, of different scholars who try to come to a conclusion who the 12 are. And let's see who my 12 are compared to these. So I have one over here, Ibn al-Arabi. I have, who's his 12? In the Sharh of Sunan al-Tirmidhi, we have Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Hassan, Muawiyah, Yazid. Muawiyah bin Yazid, Marwan, Abdul Malik bin Marwan, Yazid bin Abdul Malik, Marwan bin Muhammad bin Marwan, and As-Saffah. Okay, now that's his 12. MashaAllah, you've got here the good, the bad, and the damn right ugly. Yazid bin Muawiyah, my Lord. And then all of these Abbasids and so on. Anyway, that's his list. Can anyone say, Ya Rasulullah, you said 12. Why don't you just give us the names? Look here, these are the 12. That's one reading that's given over here. It's very interesting that one of the hadiths had mentioned there'd be a consensus on who the Imam or who the ruler is. I would say that with all of these, you'll hardly find consensus. Abu Bakr will come to his Khilafah soon. Was there a consensus? Took Ali ibn Abi Talib a while to give him Pledge of Allegiance, and he even admitted, there were people in Saqifa who had a little punch up. Uthman, you could see the differences in the shura of electing him. Imam Ali, some people loved him, some people hated him. Muawiyah, my Lord, Muawiyah, certainly people were indifferent to him. Yazid, yes, mashallah, the Ummah really liked him. Okay. Suyuti talks about there are only 12 caliphs until the day of judgment. 4 are righteous. Then Hassan, Muawiyah, Suyuti suddenly misses out Yazid for some reason. Why no Yazid? Anyway, that's his reading. And finally, Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Qadi Iyad, he looks at them, he actually mentions 13. Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Muawiyah, Yazid, Abdul Malik, Walid, Sulaiman, I don't know why we stop here. Why don't we just think of others? You could just pick someone. Pick some random Ottoman or Seljuk, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Muawiyah's back, Yazid's in there. Abdullah ibn Zubair also makes it. I'm sure Abdullah ibn Zubair, Yazid, they really like each other. Abdul Malik, Al-Walid, really our affairs would have been governed so nicely with a lot of these guys, Imagine Yazid. You remember the hadith that I showed earlier about the governing of affairs? Yes. Walid, Sulaiman, Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Why do I say all of this? I say all of this, my dear brothers and sisters, because my reading are the 12 who until today every Muslim in the world respects, whether they take them as ma'soom or not ma'soom, As Imam or not Imam, every Muslim in the world respects my 12. You put the 12th aside in the debates concerning his life, age, occultation, birth. Let's look at my 11, Imam Ali, Imam al-Hasan, Imam al-Hussein, Imam al-Sajjad, Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq, Imam al-Kadhim, Imam al-Rida, Imam al-Jawad, Imam al-Hadi, Imam al-Askari. Every Muslim in the world, if you name those 11 who I have taken, will say that I respect them even if they don't take them as Imams. If you want a consensus in the Muslim world today about respecting 11 individuals in the first 250 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, from Al-Ali, you'll see every Muslim has a respect for these. Some may take them as imams, others may take them as great alims, others may take them as spiritual guides. But you will see that the consensus is on all of them. That every Muslim says, I respect them to a level because they are either Al-Muhammad, ulama from Al-Muhammad, Sadat from Al-Muhammad, the best of akhlaq from Al-Muhammad. Is there anyone in the life of Imam al-Hussein who's greater than Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam living in his time? Is there anyone greater than Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam living in his time? Knowledge-wise, isn't the knowledge of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam attested to? Therefore, when I look at the different readings and I see people picking and choosing, my reading is Ali and the sons of Ali, and like Abu Dawood mentioned, the book of the Mahdi and the number 12 right under it. And I conclude, and I'll come to these episodes when it comes to the Mahdi. And you'll see how Suyuti, even at the end of Tariq al-Khulafa, it's very, very, very interesting. At the end of Tariq al-Khulafa of Suyuti, and I'll conclude with this, the history of the Khilafas who took the right way, translated by Abdul Samad Clark, Tariq al-Khulafa of Jalal al-Din al-Suyuti. You'll see over here, my dear brothers and sisters, reprinted, first published 1995, reprinted 96 and 98. If you look at the end, you'll still see that appendix on the Imamah. Interesting here. Allah exalted as He said, you who believe, obey Allah, obey the Messenger, and those in command from amongst you. Al-Qurtubi narrates in his commentary on this ayah. You all know the ayah, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul wa ulul amri minkum. Qurtubi narrates in commentary on this ayah, when He, glorious is He and exalted, had previously addressed Himself to those in authority in the previous ayah and had begun with them and ordered them to discharge trust and to judge justly between people. Then He proceeded in this ayah to address Himself to their subjects, and He ordered obedience to Himself. Mighty is He and majestic, first of all, which means obeying His commands and obeying His prohibitions. First, obedience is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then obedience to His messenger, secondly, and that which He ordered forbade. And then thirdly, obedience to the amirs. Number one, obey Allah. Number two, obey the messenger. Number three, obey the amirs. From this point onwards, every Muslim has their reading according to the position of the dominant majority and Abu Hurairah, Ibn Abbas and others. Sahal ibn Abdullah Tustari said, obey the Sultan in 7 things, and he mentions them. Then he says, Ibn Juzay al-Kalbi said, concerning the Imamah, which means therefore that the discussion of Ulil Amr is a discussion of Imamah, and the discussion of what happens after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi is a discussion of Imamah. It's then your conclusion who you place. And if you're able to put the rightly guided ones in the last 1400 years, I sometimes think it's an embarrassment that in the last 1400 years we struggle to name 5 rightly guided khulafa. That's one we'll discuss with Allah's Prophet on the Day of Judgment, inshaAllah. Anyway, concerning the Imamah, there are 2 issues. Number 1, an affirmation of the Imamats of the 4 khulafa. May Allah be pleased with them. So here in the Sunni world, their conclusion is after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, obedience to the ones after Rasulullah is 4. Is there consensus on these 4? No, there wasn't consensus. The idea of Imam Ali being the 4th rightly guided, this was not in early Sunni history. This comes with Ahmad bin Hanbal onwards. Let's be frank about that. And even those who try and say Imam Ali was loved, Jamal and Safin, definitely show us otherwise. But as a Sunni, your reading is maybe that there's 4. My reading is 12. You may come with a list of 12. I have my 12. You may not agree with my 12, but the fact that the Prophet mentioned 12, to me that is enough. Does an imam have to rule for him to be accepted? Not necessarily. Does he have to conquer the world? Not necessarily. There are prophets of Allah who didn't even use the sword, but they were still seen as prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some didn't rule politically, but they were still prophets of Allah. And that takes us into a whole theological other discussion. Concerning the Imam, there are two issues. One, an affirmation of the Imams of the four Khulafa, may Allah be pleased with them. The proof of the Imams of all of them has three aspects, each of them united, and each of them united the conditions of the Imamah completely. I don't know what that means. Number two, the Muslims who lived in the time of each one of them were unanimous in pledging allegiance to him. Were unanimous in pledging allegiance to him and in coming under the obedience to him. I don't know how they were unanimous at Saqifa. Anyway, number three, that companionship with the Prophet, which each of them had, migration, magnificent deeds, Allah's praise of them, and the truthful ones bearing witness the garden for them. In other words, this is how everybody develops relative concepts of governance. You cannot turn around to one group and say to them that you are heretics, you are wrong. If that group holds on to the Thaqalain and holds on to Ali being the Wali and Hassan and Hussein being under the Kisa and holds on to the Mahdi being the final of them and holds on to the idea of the 12, you add all that together, I don't think it makes the worst reading in the world. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Dear viewers of Imam al-Hussein TV, without your support, this channel would never be a success. Many of you have benefited from what is really a university of knowledge, lectures, interactive programs, and of course the Shia voice. The coverage that one receives in the holy month of Muharram and Safar, of course, from the land of Karbala is witnessed by millions around the world and is vital in the upbringing of our children and the health of our households and our communities. We need your generous support. With your support, there could be more documentaries. With your support, there could be more programs. With your support, Shia Voice may come to your community. But we cannot continue this without your generous donations. In this holy month of Ramadan, a month of charity, a month of giving, a month of generosity, come together, join us on Imam al-Hussein TV, and generously donate as you always have done, so we may continue to provide programs which serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and of course the holy household.